Oh my gosh, guys. From the reviews this movie has been getting, and the box office reception from this movie, honestly, I just don't get the reviews this movie has been getting. What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is Owen DeBrincat, and today I'm going to review the latest science fiction epic, The Crater. This movie is directed by Gareth Edwards, and this movie stars John David Washington, Gemma, Ken Watanabe, Allison, Janney, and Madeleine Yuna Voyles. Against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. Now, when it comes to Gareth Edwards, I think he is, in my opinion, a very underrated director. Like from 2014's Godzilla, which I really do like, and also Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. I think it's a really good Star Wars film, and I think it's very unappreciated. I really enjoyed that movie. So, 7 years he hasn't made a film in a while, and now he's making this whole new original science fiction film. I was pumped. From the trailers of the movie, this movie looks absolutely epic. Honestly, I feel like The Crater might be the answer to a problem that I want, is that I want more originality with movies, with epic blockbusters mixed into it. And with the trailers of the movie, I'm like, maybe The Crater is going to give us exactly what we needed. From the first reviews, a lot of people say this is one of the best science fiction films that came out in a long time. But yeah, this movie bombed at the box office, which got me a little bit nervous. But at the same time, Gareth Edwards, I really like this director, so I'm really pumped to check this movie out. And oh my gosh, guys. From the reviews this movie has been getting, and the box office reception from this movie, honestly, I just don't get the reviews this movie has been getting, because the movie that I see with The Crater, I was completely mind blown. With Oppenheimer that came out this year, The Crater is cinema, because this movie is what I call a movie experience. And not just because of the visual effects alone, which I will get back to that later, is that we finally got a movie that is fresh, original, and unique. And Gareth Edwards absolutely knows what he is doing with this movie, because honestly, when it comes with originality with this movie, it brings it all for me. I just want to first talk about the visual effects of this movie, because this movie cost $80 million to make. And comparing to a lot of comic book movies coming out with $200, $300 million, The Flash, for example, the visual effects of that movie looks bad. Comparing to The Flash in this movie, from $18 million, this is some of the best visual effects and practical effects that I have seen this entire year. This movie looks absolutely breathtaking. It's definitely a movie that you need to see in theaters, especially on the biggest screen possible, because the visual effects in this movie is phenomenal. Love the look of this movie, the futuristic elements, the practical effects, even just the look of the futuristic elements and the robots alone. It just made this movie worth the experience, and this movie shows a lot of that. And Gareth Edwards knows how to make movies very big scoped, with this interesting widescreen ratio that still made this movie as big as it actually is. And I think Gareth Edwards directed this movie very, very well when it comes to the cinematography and also the visual effects alone, and just the way this movie looks. It looks big, it looks scoped, and it looks incredible. If this movie goes to the Oscars for best visual effects, honestly, I want this movie to win, because this is definitely some of the best visual effects that I have seen this entire year. Also, the cast in this movie is really good in this movie. John David Washington is starting to prove himself that he's becoming this really great, talented actor. He's definitely walking in his father's shoes. He is definitely fantastic in this movie. You definitely follow his character along, and he just has that likable presence. And John David Washington does a great job in the movie. So is the other actors from Ken Watanabe, Allison, Janney, as well as the villain in this movie is really well done. She's really surprising, actually. I think she plays a really good villain. But I gotta say, the character that absolutely stood out in this movie is this little girl played by Madeleine Yuna Voyles. Seriously, this girl is definitely going to be a name that I would remember this year, because this is what I call great child acting. This girl is like 9 years old, And her acting stands out of all the actors in this movie, which is incredible. She is phenomenal in this film, and she definitely brings out some great heart and emotional material. And I think the chemistry between her and John David Washington is really well done in this film. You definitely like them two together. There's a bit of an issue there, which I'll get back to that later, but for the most part, the chemistry is really fantastic, and the characters are pretty good in the film. But we'll get back to the characters a little bit in the flaws, because there's a bit of a problem with some development, but overall, the cast of the movie does a terrific job in this film. Now, the story. A lot of people are very mixed with the story of the creator, saying, oh, it's taken from some other things we've seen before, you know, like Logan or The Last of Us, or even like the look of the movie itself. Like some people say it's like Blade Runner, or even like the robots themselves saying, oh, it looks like Chappie and all that stuff. People are just comparing a lot of elements to this film to other movies. Honestly, I just find that very, very harsh, because honestly, with those elements in the film, I call that inspiration. I can see Gareth Edwards seeing these films and like saying, you know what, I'm going to do my own version of this type of story, and I'm not going to try and copy and paste like other stuff that's happening. I want to try and make it my own way. It's sort of like what James Cameron did with Avatar, where he takes things from Dances with Wolves or Pocahontas and just makes it his own unique way to tell original story and still made it fresh and original. That's what The Creator is. It's a movie that does take its elements from other movies, and it is familiar, but it's still a unique, fresh, and original film, because this is definitely Gareth Edwards' own way of telling this old story, which honestly, I'm totally okay with that. The story of The Creator is really well done. What I mostly liked about it is that it goes straight forward. It is a big positive, but it's also a negative at the exact same time, which again, we'll go back to that in the flaws, but throughout the most part, the story of the movie I was following. It goes straight to the point, and you know what to follow. The action scenes are really well done, but just, I love the scope of this movie. Like, this movie is definitely what I call a science fiction blockbuster. And I think this is definitely, in my opinion, the best that Gareth Edwards has directed. When it comes with originality, the way this movie is written, the look of this movie alone, it definitely is a film that brings us what is missing for films. Something fresh, something new, and something original. And in my opinion, The Creator absolutely does that. This movie is very heartfelt. It had some funny moments as well, but definitely this movie is a total roller coaster ride from start to finish. This movie isn't like one of the best science fiction films of all time, like a lot of people say in the first reviews. This movie does have some issues, but absolutely this movie is exactly the movie that I needed. Something fresh and original. But this movie does have some problems. One of the cases is, in my opinion, the problem that Gareth Edwards has with most of his films, character development. Because these aren't the most memorable characters that I've seen this entire year, because I thought the characters in this movie is very well done, but the problem with this movie is that this movie is a little bit shorter than I was expecting. Like, this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and honestly, I wish this movie could have expanded the characters a little bit more, because this movie, like I said, it goes straight to the point, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because I wish the movie could take a bit of time to get to know some of the characters in the film and maybe develop them a little bit more. Like, if there's an extended cut of this film coming on Blu-ray, I hope it happens, because I think it will make this film much better and maybe more better received. Especially like the chemistry between John David Washington and this robot girl. I love the chemistry in this film, and it's fantastic, but honestly, I wish we could have spent a bit more time with them too, because the chemistry is a little bit rushed in this film. And other characters like Ken Watanabe in this film, I wish they could have explored his character a lot more in the film. It's mostly when I was watching, I'm like, oh cool, it's Ken Watanabe. But I wouldn't remember his character in this film. If this film was much more longer than we're expecting, like, this is a movie that deserves to be like maybe 2 hours and 30 minutes long, or even 3 hours, so we have more time to spend more of the characters a little bit, because this movie definitely goes straight on point, which, like I said, it's a good thing. But at the same time, I wish the film could have slowed it down just a little bit. Maybe I'm just used to that with most blockbusters, like it takes its time with its characters, and this movie's just like, boom, 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 let's go straight on point. So, it's fine, it's nothing that bothers me or anything, but honestly, I do wish this film could have been better with its runtime and maybe more character development, because definitely Gareth Edwards has a bit of issue with that. Even with Godzilla Rogue One, it definitely has some forgettable characters. This movie has a couple of them, and honestly, I really do like the characters in this film, but I wish the character development could have been a bit more expanded. But overall, guys, The Creator is exactly the movie that I wanted to see. Something that's fresh, something that's new, something that's original. And Gareth Edwards directed this film brilliantly. The visual effects in this movie is definitely some of the best visual effects I've seen this entire year. The mixture of practical and CGI is really well done. The cast is great. The story was definitely riveting. Even though I wish this film could have been much more longer and maybe the characters could have been a bit more developed, overall, The Creator is cinema. It's definitely a movie that you need to see on the big screen. And definitely The Creator is a movie that is what we needed when it comes to originality, because it shows that originality is still out there. Out of all these films, I definitely think this is the best that Gareth Edwards has directed, and I'm going to give The Creator an A-. So guys, that is my review for The Creator. Let me know what you think of this film in the comments below. Do you like the film, hate the film, or your thoughts, okay? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel now for my latest movie reviews and movie-related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.